Just, for my mental health, y'all know I've been following the situation in Palestine, and it's been a lot. So for those of you that are paying attention to that, this is your invitation. Not that you need an invitation from me, but just please take a mental health break if you need one. Like, I'm the type of person who I know firsthand what it's like to experience like major depression, like the kind that makes you want to end it all tomorrow. Sorry to start this off on a bad note, but like once that, like I developed in that time, that this was many years ago, but like in that time I developed some really effective coping strategies to the point where I've never, touch wood, touch metal, touch wood, touch Palo Santo, I've never had to go through that again. Because I can feel when I'm slipping, and I can feel when my thoughts are kind of getting out of control into like too much of a negative spiral. Once that negative spiral starts to take hold, it's really difficult to get out of it. Like once it really starts to like affect your brain chemistry and your energy levels and your sleep and your relationships and your work, and your life starts being impacted in a negative way, it can be much more difficult to change, and to get out of. So, you don't want to get to that point. If it happens, then, sometimes there's a reason why that happens, because maybe things in your life are not, are out of alignment. So sometimes depression can actually be a gift. But if you feel yourself slipping, just take a break, because I've just seen that a lot of people, particularly people who are really actively engaged in activism at the moment, have not been taking those breaks, and it's not just been harmful to them, but it's even been harmful to what we're trying to achieve here on this planet, as an awakening collective. So do make sure that you are taking care of your mental health, because if you're under-resourced, then you can't be a support to other people. There's no way that you can pour from an empty cup. You need to be fully resourced. So for me, I had, because the energies are so intense, and it's not just for those of us who are engaged in what's happening in Palestine at the moment, but everybody, well, I don't know if everybody, but a lot of people I know have been feeling the shifts that are happening on the planet right now, huge geopolitical changes, which, obviously our outer worlds are a reflection of our inner world. So if there's turbulence on the external world stage, it's reflecting the inner turbulence that's within. So a lot of people are going through a lot right now. If you are going through it right now, know that you're not alone. There's a lot of things happening, things are shifting with people's union templates, which I'm going to talk about, with people's health. Obviously we're seeing like long-term effects from the jabs, which I'm going to touch on a little bit, and just we're seeing like the fall of Western Empire. Those of you that have done your history, every empire on this earth has fallen. And any empire that is founded on supremacy and dominance and not founded on God, as most empires on this planet haven't been or have been imbalanced, will end up destroying themselves. And we're kind of seeing that happen. I'm not saying that it's going to happen overnight or that it's going to happen like in the next year. We're talking about this is a thing that's going to unfold over, I don't want to give a time scale, because I'm not a prophet, and I actually don't believe that anybody can say exactly how this is going to go or exactly how long it's going to take, but probably, over the next decade, as more and more things are revealed on the world stage. I mean, right now, a lot of people are seeing how our government institutions, all the alphabet agencies, just the whole international law thing is just not just useless, but more than useless. Set up to serve the powerful at the expense of those with the least power. So, you know, I think a lot of people are waking up to just the whole idea of authority, the whole idea of statism in general. I mean, I don't want to be over optimistic. I think a lot of people I'm still seeing a lot of people being like, oh, we should vote for this person, we should vote for that person, I'm never voting for Genocide Joe again, and what about this candidate, what about that candidate? People still thinking that voting is gonna, I mean, look, I'm not saying that like voting for a better candidate can't help a little bit, but a lot of people are realizing that the game is rigged, and just the whole idea of international law is just a joke. A lot of, you know, I'm seeing a lot of conversations being had in not so much mainstream. I mean, most people know now that the mainstream corporate media is just a joke, that it's just propaganda, they're just lying to everyone. But the alternative media, who are also, you know, tend to be a bit more mainstream, are also starting to realize that international law is just a joke. Like it's applied selectively, you know, they use it when it suits them, but you know, if you actually need to be able to stop a genocide against a major world superpower, not you know, not saying that Israel is necessarily a major world superpower, but I think a lot of people are realizing what Israel is, not just that it's a settler colonial state, but that it's a satellite state and a military outpost of the United States. That is like, the United States is like the military arm of the beast system. The UK is the financial centre, the City of London is the financial centre of the beast system. Rome is the spiritual, or rather the Antichrist centre of the beast system. So, you know, these are the truths that I don't want to say like everybody's waking up to now, but it's slowly gonna start to become more and more obvious and more clear to people as more and more gets disclosed. You know, what's happening in Gaza right now is also dovetailing with, you know, the disclosure of the Epstein documents, and the fact that Epstein was a Mossad, you know, Israeli intelligence asset that was, you know, designed to blackmail certain powerful actors and politicians, you know, with, you know, getting them into compromising situations with underage, you know, with trafficked children, basically, in order to control them. Obviously, they have to be corruptible to be controlled, but a lot of them are, you know, so people are realizing that. Obviously, I'm not saying that every person in a position of power is, you know, implicated, but a lot of them are, and a lot of them have been complicit. I mean, we're seeing now how many of them are actually, you know, are complicit. I mean, even we're realizing even ourselves, like, we're complicit. Like, you know, as a person in the UK, people in the UK, we pay taxes, right? I spoke in my previous video about war tax resistance. It was actually one of the reasons why I continued modeling for so long, because with my awakening, obviously I started waking up to the whole 9/11 thing when I was in my early 20s, and I got very involved in like 9/11 truth and anti-war activism. So that's when I was first exposed to the idea of war tax resistance, and when I started to become more and more, it took me a while before I was really like became very clear about what government is and about, you know, the satanic agenda, but the idea of like government's illegitimacy, when particularly when engaged in wars of aggression, and how war tax resistance can be a very important tool of protest, and it is actually lawful. Like, you know, governments can still try and, you know, get you for it, and there's different layers of legality, but like there's a difference between legal and lawful. Like, legal is basically you've entered into a contract, an energetic contract, or like a, you know, not even like a social contract, but like even like a slave contract that we have as citizens of a country through the birth certificate fraud. Obviously I'm going quite a little bit deeper now. Through the birth certificate fraud, they basically take a bond out on your head when your birth is registered to the state. So that bond is like puts you in bondage. It makes you like a human resource, like basically a resource of the state. Like the state owns you. So the contracts that we have with the state is that we will give our sweat equity to the state. So states basically operate like mafias. They're no different from mafias. And, you know, they take the money through our tax money through threat of violence and use it for whatever they want to use it for. I'm not saying that, you know, we shouldn't be that there shouldn't be some kind of social contract where we contribute to society and schools and hospitals and roads and things like that. But if we don't have a choice about how that money is spent, then essentially we are slaves. So if you know, those of you who've done your research will know about the Haitian Revolution and how, you know, after the Haitian Revolution, they actually stopped the transatlantic slave trade, not out of the goodness of their hearts or because they suddenly awoke to the fact that racism is wrong and enslavement is wrong, but because it just became too expensive. So they switched back to the indentured servitude model, and that's what we have now. But, you know, there are still people who are enslaved, obviously. There are more people enslaved today than there were during the transatlantic slave trade. So, you know, a lot of these things are part of the awakening that's happening now. You know, same like the prison industrial complex. And I'm seeing the awakening happening on both sides, you know, of the left-right bipartisan divide, which is again another like controlled opposition agenda to divide people. But they'll use very sophisticated tactics to divide people, like things like QAnon, to turn like, you know, people who are awakening to the satanic agenda, you know, funneling them into this Trump white hat timeline. These are the saviors who are going to take out the baddies, and just creating this left-right divide when actually otherwise people would have come together and they would have completely overthrown these control systems, but they were made complacent by the whole QAnon. And I'm thinking about doing a whole video on how QAnon hijacked the awakening movement and turned it into a partisan issue, because I do want to, now that I'm getting so many like people who are speaking up for Palestine coming into my sphere and who are new to my work, I want to clarify my position on all that, because people can get very polarized about stuff like that. They'll see that if you start talking about like some kind of, you know, government satanic agenda or elite trafficking conspiracy stuff, then they think that you're a Trumpist, and I'm absolutely not a Trumpist. I am conservative on some issues. I'm very extreme left on other issues, and extreme, you know, so a lot of people on the left-right divide call me an extremist in so many ways. So, you know, like, just welcome if you're new here. Stick around. Don't expect to agree with everything that I say, you know, because I'm just one person who's learning, and I'm on my awakening journey, just like y'all, and I'm sharing it with people. So yeah, like that's my position on that whole Trump thing. Like, there is a satanic agenda, there are elite trafficking rings, there is satanic ritual abuse, but it's not like a left-right thing, and I don't think Donald Trump is the savior. I think that there's a war that's been happening between some really, really evil people against some people who are maybe slightly less evil, but they're not like the good guys, and they have their own agenda, and they are backed by the Zionists. So, you know, a lot of people need to get with the program with how this whole Israel issue feeds into the whole QAnon thing, because a lot of people are going, let's vote for Trump because he's not like a genocider, but Trump is like a total Zionist. He's converted to Chabad Lubavitch. I think his son-in-law, what's his name? Jared Kushner is Chabad Lubavitch, which is basically like a sect of Messianic Judaism, where they believe in accelerating the coming of the Moshiach by, you know, bringing about this kind of holy war that was prophesied in the three Abrahamic faiths, and building the third temple in Jerusalem, and having having Jerusalem be the center of the New World Order, and have everybody ruled under one world religion, which is the Noahide laws. Hi loves, that was just an excerpt from my full-length Ascension update. If you like what you heard and you want to watch the whole video in full, it's like 1 hour 10 minutes, click the link in my bio. Mwah.